The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another webinar that LEORON Institute has organized for you. My name is Marika, and I will be your host today for the session on the topic Risk-Based Audit Approach in the New Normal. Most of you probably already know me. We've been in touch by email. We've been in touch on LinkedIn previously, and I'm so happy to see so many of you joining us today. I can see a lot of people joining as well as we speak, which is amazing. So I wish that all of you are safe and all of you are well, and thank you for joining once again. To give you the presentation today, I have with me expert trainer Fernando Cevallos. So he is a leading expert in the field, and he has over 18 years of experience in forensic investigations, in background search, due diligence and fraud, corruption, money laundering compliance, audits, and risk assessment. So Fernando has worked all around the world, where he acquired a broad international experience in numerous industries and has led and worked with teams from different parts of the world, including the United States regulators. I mean, I can go on, but I think I'm leaving you in very good hands today. Before we start, I would like to remind all of you that you are now in listen-only mode. So if you have any types of questions during the presentation, any kinds of things that you need further clarification on, I encourage you all to go to the little chat box at the bottom right corner that you have in the questions section. Just put in your questions, and Fernando and I will try to address them at the end of the presentation during our Q&A session. I can see that a great number of you have already joined, so I will not take up more of the time, so I will leave you up to Fernando. So Fernando, the floor is yours. You can take over the mic.
Thank you so much, Marika. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever you are. Assalamu alaikum. And pleasure to be with you, and pleasure to have been part of this program with LEORON that I've been working for really young, with so many years now, working with LEORON and starting up this new journey based on the new normal. I missed going to all my trips to Saudi Arabia and to the Middle East and meeting you all, but I'm pretty sure that we'll do that soon. And today I have a very specific topic to talk about, and I think it has to be very good related with what we are living and what we are seeing and we are experiencing in terms of what we specifically are looking into our businesses and how we are adding value to our businesses. And as Marika said, I'm Fernando, because I'm Fernando Cevallos here in Mexico City, and we basically are working in different matters for over 2 decades now, and different topics around the world. And this particular matter of risk-based internal audit, I really do it with a lot of interactions and a lot of cases while I'm teaching this subject, because the only way we can learn is to put our hands on. And so I'm bringing here a couple cases to discuss. I'm bringing here a couple theory that will be important and relevant to share. But I'm also here to hear from you and also sharing our experiences and learn from each other. So feel free to ask any questions and to raise your hand if you want to write or me to focus on certain topics. I'm going to be sharing here for the next 30 to 45 minutes with you. And then I'm very open to have this Q&A, and keep it coming, guys. Please feel free to keep it coming, and we'll make it this as interactive as possible. Right now, I'm in a very safe place. I'm in my office, so usually in my office I don't wear masks, and I'm wishing you that you're still healthy and you're safe, and everybody can enjoy these webinars the way I'm going to do it too. Okay, so let's start. I expect that you're seeing my PowerPoint. Maybe I see some raising hand. Good, thumbs up. Good. So in terms of risk-based internal audit, I want to start pointing out what is our new normal. You look around today, I'm pretty sure that you will agree many things that I'm putting highlighted here. You know, especially in your territory that have been now quite a few years that have been coming to the Middle East and having interacted also with some African students and having offices around the world from my firm. We are seeing this as the new normal. What we're seeing? Economic slowdown and corruption challenge. I'm going to stay give a little bit of explanation on my point of view. I studied economics. I graduated from economics, and I have my master's and all the certifications from different parts of the world, mainly in Brazil and the U.S. And then when we're looking into economic slowdown, we're seeing that companies and people, ultimate people, the society is suffering from not having the same income or not having any income at all as a household, and having this whole situation about how I'm going to keep up with my same lifestyle, or how I even going to keep up bringing food to the table. I have seen cases where the whole economic slowdown have impacted a lot of families, a lot of key professionals, a lot of sharp professionals that are out there seeking for a new opportunity. And I'm pretty sure that we could do things different. I'm pretty sure this won't be forever. However, when there's this economic slowdown, there's other challenges coming up. There's also corruption, right? Fraud, money laundering, theft, etc., etc., etc. And these specific issues are just coming over and over again. You're seeing in the newspaper a lot of things going on in different overprices, challenges, in different theft situations, etc., etc. So when there's a need to have the same income or even more income or even bringing food to the table, we are basically facing against the wall and saying, what's going on in my business and what I need to do different from a controls perspective, from an audit perspective. So this particular issue, once we start, this is a new normal. We're going to keep facing the situations. We need to have our eyes open, and we need to make sure that we are understanding the risks. Then we're moving on to the next point, which is the company budget restrictions. In the company budget restrictions, we are seeing that, I don't know how many of you, and I would like to hear from you, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat, is how many of your companies are increasing the internal audit budget, or are increasing the compliance budget, or are increasing, you know, that's good. Yes?
I'm sorry, dear, to interrupt. It seems that your voice is not very clear. There's a bit of an echo. So,
Really?
if you can use the microphone on your headphones, that would be great. Can you try it once again?
Yeah, let me plug in and unplug. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you clear. Let's see from the other.
I'm not using my headphones.
Still echo.
No. No? Can you hear me better?
I think it's better now.
Okay, good. Let me get by my inspiration. No worries. That happens. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Let's see. I think there's still issues. The echo seems to be a lot of problems. So.
Do you hear me with echo right now?
Yeah.
Should I log in and log out?
Yeah, can you try and doing that? We'll just wait a couple of minutes. Maybe the quality of the sound will improve.
Okay.
All right.
Let me log in and log out. I'm on my way here. Sorry about that, guys. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, now it's better.
Some of them are saying they can hear you very clearly, which is good. Yeah, if you can just put a full screen also on the presentation, that would be great.
Okay, good. That was mine. Really? Now, should we keep going?
Definitely, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm sorry for those technical issues. Sometimes it happens. So I was talking about, first of all, we need to be with our eyes open. And second of all, we need to look into our controls, in controls structures and framework that's going on in our companies. And then I was asking, I don't know how many of you did your board or top management decided to increase the budget in internal audit compliance and looking for to making more investment in technology to reduce any or to increase the controls or reduce any risks. That's very unusual kind of what we're living in new normal. So when we are working with less amount of people, with less amount of technology, with less amount of external support, and we are working under a lot of pressure to give the same results as a company. So when we are working on these conditions, what will be our new normal? How are we going to face this? Then we also have the unemployment issue, which is increasing in many parts of the world. I do have friends that have suffered the salary cuts, okay, the 25%, 50% of their salary, they have been cut. And so, and at some point they are compensated because they are not spending in lunch, they are not spending in traffic, and that amount of money that's supposed to be coming as the same 100%, now it's coming half or a quarter of your salary. It's a good hit on your family income. And there's also other people around the world that are suffering from uncertainties and anxiety. There's another psychological factor around it. I personally lost my grandfather during this pandemic, and that thing that and many people that I know have lost a lot of relatives and many other family members or friends that have been they are no longer with us anymore here in this planet, and that really impacts in so many aspects our lives and people's lives, which that productivity could be impacting your company, and start again thinking about other mechanisms and other ways to look at the business from a controls perspective and from an opportunities perspective. So in that sense, when we look at the new normal, out of these 5 points, I would like to hear from you in the near future, in the next couple of minutes. What are exactly you looking for? You know, when we are looking to a risk-based internal audit based on this new normal, have you taken these external factors and considerations throughout your new internal audit program? Have you revised them? Have you do some check and balances on that program? And if you don't have any risk-based internal audit approach, you need to make sure how to incorporate risks into your new normal program of internal audit.
Fernando, sorry to interrupt again, dear. There seems to be a lot of problem with the echo in the microphone. Do you perhaps have a headset with you, or can you move to another room where there's less echo? A lot of people can't seem to hear you well.
Now? Can you hear me?
Okay. Still echo.
I don't think it's, I don't hear my echo, but let me see if I can find a mirror room. And let me go to a mirror room fairly quickly.
Sure.
Maybe it's in the mirror room that I don't have any echo. But
yeah, I see that people are half and half. Some of them don't have any issues at all. Some of them hear a lot of echo. So let's just try and switching the room if that will help. If
okay,
not, I guess it's individual.
Yes, I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me go fairly quickly to a meeting room right now. And just going to turn off my camera. I'm just going to carry my computer.
Sorry about that, guys. We'll be back shortly once Fernando settles into a new room. And I can see a lot of questions coming in. That's good. I encourage you all to write down your questions in the section, and we will address them at the end of the session. So I can see people asking for the webinar materials. Let me just tell you that we are recording this session, so basically all of you will have access to the recording link. So once the webinar ends, we will be sending everyone a link that you can access the recording and rewatch it whenever it's convenient for you, so don't worry.
Okay, so I'm in the meeting room now.
I can hear you much, much better. I think that this is a better solution.
Okay. Got it? Should I carry on?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you guys for your patience. You know, sometimes between Mexico and wherever you're located, sometimes it's difficult. Okay, can you hear me? Or should I use my headphones? Because I don't have my headphones on.
Let's try once again with the headphones on, and I will I will get some feedback from the attendees because I can hear you very clearly. Yeah, I have people saying, Ilaf says that your voice is perfectly clear. Great. Okay.
Good. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Let's try it one more time. There was a try too. Okay. So, Marika, you projected my presentation, right? You can see my presentation.
Yes, I can see it. If you want, you can also either switch off your camera, or if you want, you can leave it on, because when you switch it off, the presentation goes a bit bigger for the attendees too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
that's great. Great.
Okay. So what is the new normal for internal audit? So here are my thoughts. There's a headcount reduction. I'm seeing a lot of companies and a lot of internal auditors right now unemployed and seeking for new opportunities. So that's a challenge. I don't know what's your situation. I would like to know. Then also there's some restrictions in new technology. Of course, people in crisis, they are not looking for new technology. They are basically seeing opportunities in order to reduce the budget, in order to reduce the technology or the new technologies coming up, or even maintaining the technology that are current in the companies. There are no training research, there's training reduction constraints. Of course, if you like to go to a course, you may think you will need to pay from your pocket. And actually, there's a lot of people, including me, that are taking advantage of some time, especially during the evenings, like you are, guys. I really appreciate you staying after the office, and that are looking into some training and reduction or training opportunities, and going against the whole wave of being in crisis, but getting a chance to learn and understand more what are the opportunities and how you can get more credentials for the new normal. Now, there's also other challenges where you're doing remote audits and increase of accountability. When you're talking about remote audits and you're talking about increasing accountability, this is what it happens. Sometimes when they are doing remote audits and you have to make other people accountable to the information that they are sending to you, it's going to be very interesting, because at the end of the day, you would like to see the fact and the evidence of what exactly you are analyzing or what exactly you are looking for in your audits. And sometimes, and it has happened to me in many times actually, over 2 decades of experience, that people are trying to fake information or falsify the information, and that doesn't make sense for any specific transactions or operations or areas that you're looking into. But right now, since we cannot be face to face, and there's a lot of information that we need to analyze, we're asking people to send information whatever they think is available or appropriate, and whatever they're sending, they need to be accountable. So there's one thing that you need to remember as internal auditors, and also I'm a specialist in forensic accounting investigations, is that you trust, but you have to verify. So those are the things that you need to make sure that when you're working to internal auditing towards a new normal, it is something that we need to focus on. How are we conducting remote audits? How are we making people accountable in different areas? So let's see what exactly it looks like. And then now we're going to start talking about new cases and new opportunities. The last event. This is a picture that it was, you know where it was, and it goes around the world. The huge explosion in Beirut. Yeah, we feel sorry. We are sorrowing for this issue, but I want to read what this specific source, Reuters, pointed out in this type of of this note, or an interview that I got this note. It says, in 2013, a ship filled with 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate stopped at the Lebanese port. It had a Russian crew, and reports say it was bound to Mozambique. The ship's former captain told Reuters this week that he had been instructed to stop en route to pick up more cargo, but there was a legal dispute over the port fees, and the shipping company was in debt. Lawyers representing some of the crew said in 2015 that the ship had stopped at Beirut port with technical problems. Ammonium nitrate and further common cargo in the ocean was impounded and unloaded. The crew had to stay on board for nearly a year and was then released. This is a huge article that I was reading, and I was investigating this for you guys for this session, just because it caught my attention, not because of the event of this race. And again, I feel really bad and sorry for what happened. But there's also some accountability of what exactly are we doing as controls from an internal control perspective and from internal audit. And I believe that all these types of institutions, public and private institutions, they will have these internal audit bodies. They will have this internal audit structure and teams. They will have this specific reviews or controls, or even no, or maybe they just ignore and let the ship stay there. We don't know exactly, unless someone in the audience is from there and have lived this very closely. But we don't know exactly what happened. Everything that we know is about from the news, and I'm getting facts from here and there and trying to understand and specifically building up the story. However, there's one truth around this. There was a ship with cargo with potential explosive chemical products, and that really impacted a whole nation, and the world right now is suffering. But where was internal audit in this specific part? Did they see the risks having this particular cargo ship in the port, at the port, and they didn't foresee any potential issues? Yes, of course, there could be a really political around discussions around that, et cetera, but we're not getting into that detail because we want to focus on the internal audit perspective. Risk-based internal audit will give you the perspective of what's going on in your business and where to prioritize, okay? And where to prioritize. We don't want to face these type of situations where right now it was a huge damage in terms of physical damage, right? But what if your reputation looks like when there's a specific issue in your company where it could impact the reputation of your organization? We as internal auditors, we as the compliance professionals, we as the forensics investigator professionals, we always have our mindset in focusing to our clients or to our organizations, that how we help them to accept our point of view in order to mitigate and prioritize certain risks for certain operations. We don't want this to happen in our organization, do we? So let's carry on the discussion. How's the risk model looking nowadays? You know, I brought here 6 points. I think it's very important, but it could be also very confrontative. The board of directors and leadership. The board of directors and leadership the quick question here is, are they helping you, assessing you to navigate through the crisis and mitigating these type of risks? Okay? At the top management, the head of the organizations are looking into this type of assessment and helping you to navigate through your risks. You have 2 answers, or 3 maybe. Yes, no, or I need more, or it's not enough. No? What is exactly your risk model looking nowadays? Are you having enough support from your board of directors and the leadership team? That's the one key question. The other key question is from a strategy perspective. You know, you have the controls versus financial restrictions, because it translates into increasing the creativity. Again, the people are willing to keep having their same lifestyle. People are looking and seeking for opportunities because they feel the motivation that they're not getting paid, are not getting paid well enough. They are thinking the way you are always looking at the same controls, the same risk, the same angle. Now it's time to look at your risk model. Now it's time to focus on what is the risk appetite and what are the things that have changed in my environment based on this new accountability in this new remote area or the new remote tasks you are doing based on internal audit. Strategy is one of the key components for the risk model that you need to look into right now. Now, on the third side, we're looking into resources commitment. Again, are we doing more work? Are the risks around the sky or still earning the same? You know, resources, commitment of resources is key to keep having a good, healthy check and balances internal audit team. If you are not and you're facing some issues from top management saying that you are cutting off the resources, and maybe that's for 2021 the plan. So the question here it is, am I skipping or I'm missing any particular assessment because today I don't have enough money, which could translate into a potential higher risk in 2021. You need to look into a risk-based internal audit approach because the resources are limited and you need to start prioritizing what's going to be key and impactful for your organization. Okay, so this is kind of the over the high level spectrum of the operation and how you're going to look at this from a risk model. Now, we have the other part. We have the operation, we have the controls, we have the risk approach. And that being said, what we are doing in terms of operations, are you putting down fires and chasing the golden carrot? Are you working from home and trusting everybody's doing the same as before? Are you taking a step to establish the route and actions based on risks? So what are you doing? Sometimes, you know, internal audits aren't right. Internal auditors are right just like firefighters. And maybe it's not now, but it has been always, and now has increased the firefighters. How you are stepping back or stepping out of your operation and taking a quick look or an overall or like an eagle look and plan out your strategy to attack the right and appropriate risks based on your risk appetite and the risk model. Okay, I know for the Middle East, there are a lot of financial institutions, oil and gas institutions, service institutions that we need to start focusing this from an eagle point of view and be more strategic. Not only, don't expect only, that's what I challenge you. Don't expect only that top management needs to tell you what you need to do in order to mitigate certain risks. You as internal auditors, you have the right and the voice to come up and say, I'm operating this way, my controls needs to be revised, and my risk model needs to be revised too. Because we're chasing the carrot, we're firefighters, and we're not thinking through this strategically. This is how I challenge you today. Now, what is the right key? Which is the right key for you? It's a strategy and leadership, entity performance, internal controls, and enterprise risk management. What is the right key for your organization that you will see, hey, you know, if I put this key, this is something that will work, perfectly. You know, that I will need to look into this specific task in order to improve my risk-based internal audit. The new normal have given us the opportunity to be creative from a prevention side, not only from a reaction side. So maybe you need to look more into the performance of the company. You need to dig into the operational part. What are the controls or the customer satisfactions or my procurement indicators or my licenses and permits or things that are really key for your operation to be ongoing. You need to make sure that you have the right key to lock down those risks. Then also do the same thing for your internal controls framework. And then if you have an enterprise risk management tool, you need to have be creative in terms of what is the risk approach and how is that combining with my risk-based internal audit and how is that combining with my causal model. So it's not there's no specific or right or wrong answer. The answer will be depending on the organization, depending on your risk appetite, and depending on the internal controls framework that you are looking into your company. Some companies, they have 0 maturity levels, some companies have 5 on the scale of 10, and then some companies have 9.5 or 10. But even though they could be having or qualified themselves as 10, right now in the new normal, I will say probably it's going to be a 6 or a 7 because it needs to be revised. It needs to be looking into it from a risk perspective. So when you look at this, and I'm going to start talking about different cases here, but I want to hear from you different questions what we have talked so far. I want to regroup that. What is the new normal from an economical perspective? What is the new normal from internal audit perspective? What are the challenges that you are facing right now from top management, from an internal controls, internal audit perspective? And what is the key to unlock that or to increase your awareness from an internal audit framework and controls? So you need to make sure that that is the right recipe for each company or for each organization or for each institution. Then you need to find out what is your strategy, and this webinar is for you to start thinking strategically. What is my risk approach when I'm doing my internal audit, when I'm doing my assessments that I'm supposed to be doing right now, and how I'm going to be creative in terms of how I'm going to approach this and how I'm going to tackle this from a different angle and from a risk appetite as well. So I have some questions here for you guys. In the case, based on the case, a U.S. financial institution identified that one of foreign subsidiaries paid $4.1 million in bribes directly or through intermediaries to a government officials and union officials to gain or keep business, to grant loans to public servants of important government institutions. In addition to this, there were vendors that were paid without rendering any services for another $2.6 million from 2018 till today. Allegedly, there were worker unions representing government employees involved in these schemes through intermediaries. The questions for you guys that are listening to this webinar, and I hope you're enjoying it, is where was internal audit? Did internal audit support the compliance team? Did the company have the right controls in place? What was the risk-based approach? I mean, where were the top and leaders of the organization? What other questions do you have may come to your mind when you look into this case? I want to hear from you in the question in the chat comments, because this is a particular issue. We are working in a company that their main objective, besides having the mission and the vision, which is combining with all the sustainability and all the morale, all the values of the company, of the top leadership. I'm pretty sure that the code of conduct and the code of ethics are pretty robust. But one of the main goals of the company, of the stakeholders, of the shareholders, is to make some money. Whether or not you pay bribe, whether or not there's other individuals committed allegedly certain fraud, because there are certain vendors being paid without services being rendered. What are your thoughts about this? What are the things that you may consider that are key red flags in this type of transaction? So when we look at this specifically, we want to make sure that we are addressing this from a proper perspective and from a proper angle. What it means that is your company facing day to day or year to year or month to month increasing their revenues, which is fantastic. The main question here is how. Okay, how? Here someone says that senior management. No, then how you are seeking and looking into this to be a profitable business, but with the appropriate internal controls. Why? One of the things is that sometimes for certain cultures and certain companies, paying bribes or giving gifts is normal, but what is the influence or what is the decision behind the scenes? And the other part is why I'm having these services, I'm paying these services without being rendered. So this is something that, is there a connection between this vendor, or there's a connection between this particular public official and this vendor, or it's just the procurement guy is taking some kickbacks and taking and basically saying that you need to make sure that you do the proper due diligence on who you're dealing with. There's many questions that we can discuss here in different scenarios, but here I'm looking at the questionnaire chat, is that what is the code of conduct for the company? That's Noah saying. Very good, Noah. Procedures, performance indicators. I'm sorry, administration monitoring. The case one was the contract administration monitoring procedures, performance indicators to govern for such impact. What is the code of conduct of the company? I'm sorry if you cannot hear me. How is the company? Government companies is how is the company basically structured? Says Mohammed. Governance structure, and what is the position here? Where is the code of conduct? Very good, guys. I'm very excited to see the comments here, and all these questions are valid. And if we were in class, we were going to have a very debate. And if you join us next week, then we'll have a great debate for next class. But these are great questions, and congratulations, guys. But I want you to start thinking. One of the things that I said during this session that I've been teaching for a while now is that you need to be creative. You need to be creative. Be creative in terms of different scenarios that could happen. And there's no stupid questions. There are all the right questions, because you need to challenge yourself and your organization and your internal control structure as well. So there's another case here that I want to discuss. Before discussing this other case, I want to just take a look at what are the key takeaways for the RBIA considerations. You know, there's one that says audit support. Recognize the interaction between different risks when generating a portfolio view risk, supporting a single organization's audit plan. So what is the support that I'm having in terms of getting the right resources between the risk that you have identified and having a view of risk generating a creative portfolio? If this is financial services, for example, what are the risks that I'm looking, or what are the things that I'm going to increase my investment or my capital expenditure in terms of audit, and why? What are the risks from an internal control perspective? The other point is be creative. You consider all types of risks responses, not just internal control, to reduce risks. What it means is, sometimes you need to start thinking that internal audit is not only a commodity in the organization. You are the key backbone of the organization in order to protect the assets and the reputation of your organization. Okay, you have to consider all types of potential responses. Okay, it just not only because it's an internal control issue, but it's also because there could be other implications, regulatory, could be accounting wise, financially wise, operationally wise. So think broadly. Not only be focusing on your limited square of internal controls and your internal audit framework. The other point here is that be smart. You have to use the strategies and business objectives as a starting point for risk identification and subsequent risk assessment. What is the strategy, the goal of the top management, and how you are supporting it? You have to sell to the top. You have to sell bottom to top. And it's not an easy challenge. it's going to be difficult. And through the RBI session, we practice different techniques, how to sell this from the bottom to the top management, and how you're adding value to your organization. Because you need to start always thinking as a risk perspective and adding value to your organization. Observe attentively. See the risk of migration from expectations that can be opportunities or threats. You know, it is something that what are the risks that my organization is having, and what are the things that it can turn into good opportunities, or it could be definitely a threat. And that consider into some important considerations is consider all the factors, internal and external, that could have a risk identification. You know, and also there's another point here. When you're doing the risk-based internal audit, and there are some companies and some students that have come to our class and say, you know, I have a risk management team that manages the ERM, and I do the risk-based internal audit, but we combine. And sometimes, and you know who gives me the risk-based internal audit input is my risk management team, and you don't get any input. So it depends on the maturity level of the company, and it depends on the interaction with your risk management teams. And it depends how you are interacting and identify this internal and external context of organization that would impact the situation of your company. And finally, one of the things I want to encourage you is to do prioritize. You need to consider these factors that you identify in this risk-based internal audit. You need to start prioritizing what are the key areas based on the outline framework and the risk appetite of the organization. If, for example, you're saying that procurement is a key issue, and then I need to do more hours of internal audit, and rather than being more in inventory or more into services, client services, or whatever areas you are having, or interactions that you have in operations that you're having, you need to start doing that prioritization. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to audit the ones that are less prioritized. It means that you're going to trust the controls are in place, and you're going to be monitoring them. However, you are not the owner of those risks, you're not the owner of those controls, but you can start looking and digging into some aspects of this low priority risk by focusing more and having more effort and being more strategic, okay, in terms of what you are thinking and what you are looking into the specific prioritization. Okay, so we are almost at the end, guys, and I want to thank you for being here with us, and besides the technical difficulties. But I want to just make sure that you have a key takeaway also with this another case. I want you to start thinking, because this is a webinar not for giving a speech here for you and having the key takeaways of what is RBIA and what you need to look into. But I also want you to take into consideration some real cases that we have experienced and that definitely can add value to your organization. For example, this is something common, is public information, where the World Bank is dividing different companies around the world because they have committed fraud, or allegedly they have committed some bribery with the money, with the funds of the World Bank. For example, this case, the World Bank debarred an Asian technology management company for 7 years for fraud and collusion involving 2 projects in Southeast Asia. The Asian company is ineligible to participate in the World Bank finance projects during the 7th-year debarment. The company staff improperly influenced the tendering process of 2 World Bank funded projects. The company included a falsified document in a bid and failed to disclose its involvement in the upstream work of the 2 projects. Those are collusive and fraudulent practices as the World Bank. The World Bank invested in this project almost $600 million related to environmental sustainable transport modes and urban development plans. The company agreed to take integrity compliance programs and make the general department more robust, and the robust cooperate with the World Bank integrity vice presidents. The environment also included the Asian Development Bank and other European development banks and other worldwide European development banks. So the questions here are, where were the risks? Where were the internal controls in place? Why there was a need to commit fraud? Okay, well, the questions here come to your mind. So here's the challenge for you guys. When there is always a situation, there's going to be always an issue and a point in time where you are only focusing on what your internal audit is saying, on what your internal audit plan is saying. But when you look into the details of business and start prioritizing what type of businesses operations are really impacting your organization based on which specific areas are you willing to address. Are you willing to raise up your voice and your flag and saying, hey, you know, yes, petty cash is important. Yes, accounts receivable is important. Yes, yes, there's other issues in inventory, etc. But are you looking at this from a business perspective, guys? Are you only focusing by areas, or are you looking at this by specific strategically business growth, business perspective, and you are side by side with top management, covering and adding value in terms of their reputation, their operational, and their financial situation, no? Elsewhere says, where is the review and approval or not? Every step in this process, where is the continuous data analytics? Very good, guys. I'm very happy that we see this interaction. And there will be more of the questions. And I want to be very conscious of time, but also want to just encourage and give you a little bit of flavor of the discussion that this particular case by case, you know, the whole program had like 20-some plus cases where we discussed little by little of what is the point of view of internal audit in different situations and how to come up with a risk-based internal audit matrix that will help you to address properly the risks based on the risk appetite, based on the prioritization, and based on the impact that this may cause into your organization. So that being said, I want to just make sure that we get the right flavor and we get the right answers. So what are you waiting for? You know, is your company willing to be successful, to manage risk effectively, or are you just basically relying on some leadership experience or business savvy, okay? Or do you leverage, or many others leverage, or a more disciplined risk-based approach? So what are you waiting for? I mean, are you relying everything on what you've been told or what you have been taken into consideration, or you want to revisit your model based on the new normal? You know, the world's coming very complex, and you know, all the challenges and the changes are increasing very fast. And one of the things that we need to make sure is that how we are sustainable in the long term, and how we're adding value to the society that we're working on, and how we're adding value to the stakeholders. I want to challenge you today, guys. I want you to make sure that you ended up with a good challenge where you start thinking through these specific risks and where are you standing into this new normal, and how you are trusting and your organization, but also verifying, and how you're raising your voice, and how you're being smart and strategic in order to revise your risk-based internal audit. That's my final thoughts for you. So I dare you guys. As a football team, I know many of you like football, so many of you may be smiling because I know I have been playing football with some of you guys, or the classmates in Saudi Arabia, and I know that, and today, by the way, Manchester United plays. And football, you need to train. You need to train the best. Because you're going to play the match, and you have the strategy that the manager is going to bring for every single match in order to win. And what it has to do with RBIA? These are my 3 thoughts for you that I dare you. Internal auditors played a variety of roles, but how many got appropriate training and certification? RBIA approach will impact the nature of the audit and the role of internal auditor to provide a better assurance of the work performed. Are you thinking strategically? Finally, adopting the RBIA assessment may result in the new or different areas to be addressed and priority, and choosing your battles to win the war and in the middle of the new normal? These are the questions for you that I wanted you to take away. I want you to start thinking from a risk perspective, thinking as thieves, thinking as a potential vulnerability of the current controls that you have, and looking into what is my new normal, what are my internal, external factors that needs to be revised my internal audit plan. Risks is the managing the uncertainty. It doesn't mean that it's a good or bad. It could be good or bad, either or, positive or negative. But you better take advantage of it. And you better take a knowledge before it hits you first. Because if it's going to be materializing that risk, what is the impact and the consequences? Think about the strategy and think about how are you adding value to your organization. So that being said, I want to say thank you, Marika. I'm very happy and willing to answer some questions that may be addressed in the questions box. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for being patient with me and in terms of the technology. I know which room I need to be in next time from the beginning. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fernando. It was a great presentation. I have to say I learned a lot of things myself. So guys, if you have any further questions, please just write them now. We will try to answer a few of them as well. And in the meantime, I would invite also Fernando to just browse through the questions section in case we missed any of the good ones. And also, a lot of you have asked me whether you will be receiving the materials and the presentation and everything. As I mentioned, this is all being recorded right now, and you will have all access to the link and you can watch the video afterwards. So just feel free to approach me by email. You all have my mail by now. So I will gladly get back to you then. Let's just see. We have some more questions coming in.
They're commenting about the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that. Let me see that. I don't know if any specific questions about what we discussed today, guys, or you want to comment about the cases. I see a lot of comments about the cases, which that's what I was provoking going through this thought process internally. There's internal audit really raises issues to the board, assuming that the board did not know about the bribes. They're usually kept quiet by the senior management, which is sometimes, yeah, it's kind of often and common. And then it's a certain phase from Usama. So no, thank you so much. I think we have commented most of the questions, and then people have asking and commenting about the case as well. So I think we have addressed pretty much the questions and the interaction that we had with the audience today.
That is great. And I'm not sure, some of you know, but some of you may not know, Fernando will be teaching the LEORON course, the RBIA Risk-Based Internal Auditor, which will start on Sunday, 16th of August. So it is a 5-day training session for those who want to obtain the RBIA designation. It's a diploma which is accredited by the American National Standards Institute. So for all of you that might be interested to know more about the training course, you can approach me, of course, by mail. I will send you the full outline and you will receive everything there. So I guess that if we don't have any further questions, just let me check.
Thank you so much for America for your patience and echo issue we solved at the end. So we had a good solid 30 minutes. We interacted and focused, and thank you so much for your patience. And I'm here for you guys. You can reach me out every time on LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm very active in there, and definitely I'll see you. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Definitely. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I would like to thank you for taking some time off of your busy schedules to be with us today and to stay in such great numbers until the end. So hope to see you guys soon. Thank you, Fernando, once again. It was a great presentation. So if anyone has any further questions, if you need anything, additional information regarding the course next week, of course, you can feel free to email me and I will be happy to help. I wish you all good health, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you soon.
Thank you guys. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.